Trump, vaccines and children at weddings are three topics that I try my absolute best to avoid around the dinner table. They're all important to discuss openly, but I think it also needs to be recognised that if you sit on one side of the fence on any of those topics, you are rarely going to be persuaded to change your mind, right? What's that Mark Twain quote? Never argue with an idiot. They will only bring you down to their level and beat you with experience. And your choice of whether or not to invite the little tackers is one that you'll have to make yourself and stand by, for better or for worse. So today, I'm going to break it down for you, give you the pros and cons of having kids at your wedding, and what to do if you're not going to let every one of your fam and friends' offspring roam free range and unchecked at your ceremony and or reception. And even more importantly, how to word it in your wedding invitations or website, which will make all the difference to how favourably your decision will be received. Let's get stuck into it. Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille and welcome to the Unbridely podcast. Okay, so we know that your decision as to whether you're going to invite children to your wedding or not can have the potential to be a super sensitive and divisive issue. But if you're one of the first in your friendship group or family to be getting married, you might be caught off guard as to just how passionately some people feel about it. I've heard of families getting into such bad, heated arguments and fights that they have never talked to each other again, as in it's the end of their relationship. I am absolutely not kidding. This is what can go on, which I think is a huge call and an unnecessary one. Let's start with the pros and cons of inviting children to your wedding. We're assuming already that they're children that you know and love. Let's go. Here are some of the plus sides of having kids at your wedding. First up, they create a family-friendly atmosphere because you have to have a family-friendly atmosphere to have the kids there. So it can make it feel more inclusive for your guests. So if you think of the little cuties cutting shapes on the dance floor or running around the garden with bubble wands or tucking into the dessert table early, it's really fun. And they can lighten the mood for everyone because kids show us what fun looks like, and then it can free up the adults to enjoy the little things more easily and without alcohol. The second part is they are the embodiment of an emotional connection. If you have a close relationship with the children in your family or your friends' children, you might want them to be part of your special day. You're celebrating this momentous occasion. It'd make sense to have them there. You're close to them. They share in your happiness. You share in theirs. It's good all round. And also the cute factor, because they can be adorable. And having them around can add a super cute, charming element to the wedding. It's a little bit innocent, a little bit fun, a little bit cheeky. Fantastic, right? But then you've got to think about the downsides of having kids at weddings. And I'm sure you, like everyone else, has been to a wedding or been to something important, an important event where kids have arced up and they've started screaming or talking, yelling, crying, you name it, at the worst moment. And so some of the cons for having kids at your wedding are the potential for disruptions. So children can be unpredictable and can be more prone than maybe us to meltdowns or disruptions, which can be quite distracting and take away from a special moment. You know, think you're just starting the ceremony and someone goes to say their vows and the next thing, or something similar. The number 2 con is the cost. Inviting children invariably can add to the overall cost of your wedding. You may need to provide extra meals, extra seats, extra space, entertainment. Depending on the size of them, these costs can add up. And sometimes, depending on where you are, what venue, there can be safety concerns. So you might have a certain location or certain activities planned that are just not kid friendly. And having children at your wedding may require additional safety measures, like securing dangerous areas or providing supervision. If I think about some of the venues that I'm at, little shallow creeks, ponds, water features, ceremony spaces that are at height, kiddies can go over the edge. You've got to be thinking about these things. Is the space appropriate for children? Ultimately, your decision to invite children to your wedding is a highly personal one. And while it's thoughtful to take into account the preferences and needs of your families and friends, you can't please everyone. And I've heard it all. Seriously. Some of the reasons why parents take offence to a child-free wedding policy could include that the parents may feel emotionally attached more than usual to their children in a way that makes them want their kids included and invited to everything. They may feel hurt or left out when their children are excluded from a wedding celebration. Another reason is parents may feel that not having their children invited to a wedding is a slight against their parenting. Like in the article by Karen Pynchon on todaysparent.com called Why Child-Free Weddings Are Totally Insulting. So this is real. I haven't made this up. I'm going to quote a little passage here. So it's right at the start of the article. I will link to it in the show notes. And Karen says, "Before I had a kid, I thought all children were noisy, messy, smelly, thoughtless poop machines. After I had a kid, those suspicions were confirmed. My son is a noisy, messy, smelly, thoughtless poop machine, but he's mine and he's a miracle. Laugh out loud funny, a great hugger, and one heck of a dancer. So the idea of getting a wedding invitation stating that he isn't welcome makes me want to mail back a worthless penny as a wedding present. After all, not inviting him isn't just a rejection of him, but of me and my ability to parent him." End quote. I just heard you yelling, "What?" It's true. This is how some parents feel. This is how some parents react. And another reason is expectations. Parents may have certain expectations of how their children should be treated by other family members or close friends, and or what a wedding should mean. So when these expectations are not met, they might feel upset and disappointed that you don't understand how it is. But of course, you and I know how it is in weddings, like with everything else in life, has evolved incredibly in the last 40-ish years. And not everyone chooses to have a knees up, invite everyone we've ever met since we were born, it's all about family, celebration. Your decision may come down to costs, venue restrictions, the location or destination. Destination weddings, who wants little kiddies there? No parents I know. The time of day or night, it just might not be appropriate to have kids there. And your choice of entertainment. There might be certain bands, certain artists that are not kid-friendly. Some of these factors just might not be conducive to an appropriate or healthy environment for those who are underage or those who just can't unsee the garter toss. But whatever your decision is, there's no doubt that it's better to communicate it early and clearly to avoid confusion and minimise those hurt feelings. So there are some strategies that you can use that are less likely to burn bridges and prevent your closest fam and friends getting upset with you. If you had a sweary, chocolate-addicted, wine-sipping fairy godmother who could help you with your wedding planning, what would you wish for? Perhaps no more waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wondering what you've forgotten, or fretting about your RSVPs. Maybe no more spreadsheets or post-it notes or endless to-do lists. Well, I can help you with all of that. Wedsites is an Australian wedding website builder, guest management software, and wedding project planner all in one. Why is this such a game changer for you? Well, imagine everything to do with your wedding being in one place, updated in real time in the cloud, shareable to anyone else that's helping you, password protected for your guests with notifications to tell you what needs to be done next and by when. It's amazing, right? I love how easy Websites is to set up and use and how there are no ads on the platform yelling at you to spend more money on your wedding. To get started on your very own free wedding website, just head to wedsites.com. That's WEDSITES.com and enter the code UNBRIDELYPOD, that's Unbridely POD, to get 10% off their paid planning tools. The link is in the show notes. Let's start with the adult-only camp. So you are a couple who have decided no kids at all, none whatsoever. This is an adults-only celebration, kid-free zone. So how do you word an adults-only wedding on your invitations or wedding website? There are lots of unnecessarily flowery poems and rhymes and verbiage available online, and you can type in, adult-only wedding wording, and it comes up with lots of really average ways to say, we're just having adults, keep your kiddies at home. Some of the less cute and yet more elegant ways to say it are, you might say your ceremony is this time and then adults-only reception to follow. Or, please join us for an adults-only reception at 6 p.m. Personally, I prefer the wording and explanations that make some concessions, basically saying, we're happy if you do this, but not that. So some boundaries, while also being a little bit flexible. It feels like a win-win that way. Something like this is good. Children are welcome to attend the ceremony. However, we respectfully advise that the reception will be for adults only. We thank you for your understanding. So it's given the kids at the ceremony, it's saying the reception's just for the adults. Or to give our guests the opportunity to celebrate without having to worry about little eyes and ears, we politely request no children. Now, if people are going to take offence, they're going to take offence. We can't stop them. But it's quite clear that you love their kids. Another compromise, if adult for you means 18 and older, but you would like to make sure that those who still have babies are able to take care of them, you could say something like, we respectfully advise that this is an adult occasion, in brackets, 18 plus. However, infants under 12 months are welcome. So those parents who are breastfeeding, those parents who don't want to hand over their kids to a babysitter or another family member or something along those lines, those first 12 months, super, super crucial and sensitive, and it's very difficult to tell someone how to parent at the best of times, but when your baby's under 12 months old, impossible. And you've got a much better chance of these parents or caregivers being able to come along if they can look after their baby while they're there at the wedding. And I love it when the couple make it sound like they're doing the parents a favour because, as I said, most parents that I know would love to have a night off. So something like this might be appropriate. We want you to be able to relax and enjoy. Or, this will be an adult-only event. Although we love your kids, we'd also love if everyone were able to relax and enjoy themselves at our wedding. Saying that it's tricky, racing around after kids, keeping tabs on them, making sure they're not swimming in the water feature. It's hard work for parents, and it's recognising that, which is a smart perspective. But I think my favourite wording is when couples use humour, like with something like this. I love this one. Let's say Barry is our groom and Belinda is our bride. So it would go like this. We love your children too, but Barry can't afford for Belinda to get clucky just yet. All jokes aside, we ask that all children be left with friends, grandparents, or another trusted caregiver while you celebrate at our adult-only wedding with us. But what if you're hedging your bets and you've chosen to invite only certain children to your wedding? Now, if you want to walk the line of having only some of your fam or friends' children invited to your wedding, I would highly encourage you to choose carefully. Making a clean distinction between immediate family or wedding party only kids could make it easier for your guests to understand and empathise. So saying something like, we truly wish we could invite all our guests' children to our wedding. However, we are only able to invite the children of our immediate families. If you're planning on mixing it up, some friends' kids and some families' children, but not others, for whatever reason, you'll need to make it crystal clear on your invitations and/or wedding website. But be prepared. Only you will know and understand the potential for hurt feelings and misunderstandings. And in this case, I'd highly recommend that you personally call those guests with children to explain the decision that you've come to, because this can be a very delicate matter. And here are 5 tips to help you navigate this situation. So 1, address the invitations to the specific guests. Addressing your invitations to the adults only by name will help communicate that the wedding is not open to all children. 2, include a note on the RSVP card or website. So you could include a note that states that the wedding is an adults-only event, something along the lines of, "We kindly advise that our wedding will be an adults-only affair." 3, communicate with parents directly. If there are certain children who are exceptions to the no children policy, such as immediate family members, communicate with the parents directly to let them know that their child is welcome at your wedding. 4, be consistent. If there are specific children who are invited, be sure to include them on the invitation and make it clear that they are the only children who are welcome at the wedding. And 5, provide alternatives. Some of your guests may not be able to attend your wedding because they're unable to find childcare. So, particularly thinking about your out-of-town guests, provide them with a list of local babysitters or childcare options, or better still, hire a babysitter or nanny for them. Remember, it's important to communicate your wishes respectfully and without judgment. It's your wedding, and you have the right to create the kind of atmosphere and celebration that you want. So keeping this in mind, what do you do if one of your family or friends says that they can't or won't attend your wedding unless their child is invited? For me, this is a pretty big red flag, and it can be a really difficult situation to navigate. But being personally offended or dismissive towards your friend or family member's concerns can create unnecessary conflict and tension and might result in your guest feeling excluded. If you're not able to respond in a respectful and empathetic way in this situation, it could lead to hurt feelings, damaged relationships, and potentially even your guest declining your invitation. The first step is to remove the emotion from your response as much as you can. And then you could try a polite and respectful reply like this. "Thank you for letting us know about your situation. We completely understand that finding childcare for your children can be challenging, and we appreciate your willingness to attend our wedding. However, we have decided to keep our wedding an adults-only affair for various reasons, including venue constraints and our desire to create a certain ambience. We hope you can still join us and celebrate this special occasion with us, but we completely understand if you are unable to attend. We would be more than happy to help you find local babysitting services if that would be helpful. We respect your decision and understand it is a personal one. We hope that you know how much it would mean to us to have you there, but we completely understand if you are unable to attend. Please let us know if there's anything we could do to help." So you're being understanding. You've said it a few times. We understand. We're very understanding. And you're letting them know that while you're still staying true to your own wishes for your wedding day. In the end, it's important to remember that your wedding is about celebrating your love and your commitment. But it's also an opportunity to bring together your family and friends to share in your celebration. Being respectful and empathetic towards your guests, even in difficult situations, can go a long way in preserving those relationships and creating a positive experience for everyone. I'd love to know how you navigated the all kids welcome versus some children invited versus kids-free zone at your wedding. Let me know what you wrote in your invitations and how you went about it in the Unbridely Couples Facebook group, or DM me at Unbridely. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.